Got a green thumb? Wish plants could be your friends? In D&D, they can. Introducing the Flower Girl. So this build is all about flavor. It's about being a very specific type of druid, the druid that is one with plants, loving plants. You are the gardener, the groundskeeper. You are the botanist who is out there being part of nature, and letting the plants specifically be your allies and your power. This is a druid build, high on wisdom. Wisdom's really the only stat you're going to need to take or max, so focus on your wisdom score. We are going to go with the Furbog race. This is the only race that is going to allow you to talk to plants right from level 1. They won't get to talk back until quite a bit later. Speech of Beast and Leaf is going to give you the ability to have to tell plants what you're thinking, and supposedly they can understand you. Our druid level 1, we're going to get basic things like druidic, and our beginning spellcasting. A big part of this build is going to be all about the spells that you choose. For cantrips, obviously you're going to want that Thorn Whip for that nice plant lashing out at someone and dragging them towards you. You want to pick up Druidcraft to make flowers bloom, because that's explicitly stated as part of that spell. Look into mold earth, like you're using the roots of plants to I don't know, it's fun, it's utility. For our first level spells, we're having Entangle, to have plants wrap around and restrain our enemy. Good Berry, because we'll go to plants if you can't eat them and restore 1 hit point. And I think you're also going to want Healing Word, just for some additional healing and support. You won't always be healing, but I do think that's a big part of this particular build. We're going to save that extra spell prepared slot for some of our later down the line spells. At level 2, we're choosing our circle, and we're actually going to go with Circle of the Land. This is, I think, an oft misunderstood subclass. It's frequently discussed as being bland or low on power, but it gives you an expanded spell list, which is awesome. It also is going to give you additional spells. It's got this kind of arcane recovery feature built into the class, which means you're casting more often than other druids. I think it's maligned because it doesn't make great use of the wild shape feature. It doesn't have any bonuses there. It doesn't have any reuses for it. So you're pretty much going to be using the wild shape feature to turn into relatively harmless animals, maybe for camouflage, maybe for infiltration. You can find some creative uses for wild shape, and it's never bad to have more spell slots. With our Circle of the Land, we are choosing the forest biome environment. This is going to give us some spells that we really wanted on this character, so it's going to automatically add them to our spell list. We're going to get right here at 3rd level, we're getting our 2nd level spells. Because we are Circle of the Land, we're also getting access to our land spells. In this case, that's going to be Bark Skin and Spider Climb. Bark Skin to make you, all covered in tree bark and be all that more resilient. I'm also going to recommend that you add Locate Animals and Plants, so you can find that all-important plant that your DM has absolutely put in this campaign for you because you are a plant-based character. And Spike Growth. Spike Growth has a bit of a reputation in the optimization community. A lot of people create, it's basically one of the best laying down an area of damage spells in the game. You cause the plants to create little spikes that sprout up through the earth, and then for every 5 feet of movement, you're dealing damage to your enemy. My recommendation is that this character is, as much as possible, kind of getting on that diagonal of the spike growth and using Thorn Whip on enemies to pull them into it as much as possible. I think that's kind of generally what you're doing in a combat situation. So grab that spike growth. I think it's going to be very, very important. At 4th level, we're doing nothing but bumping our wisdom on this build. We're going to be doing that at 8th level as well, so bump that wisdom, get that up there. At 5th level, we're getting our 3rd level spells. Our Circle of the Land spells are going to be plant growth. You can't take this build without having plant growth on your resume. This is essentially, you just make the plants grow wildly and freely. It makes it into extra difficult terrain for everyone except for you and who you designate. And if you cast it over a long enough period of time, it will permanently enrich the land, which makes you the best gardener in the Forgotten Realms. And Call Lightning, which is a helpful damage spell. And this is where we can take Speak with Plants, so that plants can speak back to us. It says it imbues them with consciousness and sentience. So you're actually turning the plants from inanimate objects into like thinking, living creatures that you can converse with. They can do stuff for you. They can like bend their roots or branches to make stuff happen. So if you make friends with them, they can actually be your allies. It also says this kind of lets you like undo the entangle spell if someone's cast it on you. So if you're up against another fellow plant wielder, this is a fun little counter, but it's mostly just a bit of flavor. And then I'm also going to recommend maybe something supporty like Revivify. At level 6, we're getting Land's Stride, which basically allows us to ignore difficult terrain. It also says we can pass through non-magical plants without being slowed by them and without taking damage from them if they have thorns, spines, or similar hazards. This means you can create environments, maybe if your DM gives you some downtime, where you can plant a bunch of dangerous plants and then retreat there like a fortress if you need to, and it won't hurt you. Very, very cool. And this is, I think, the epitome of like using the land against your enemy. 7th level, we're going to get access to 4th level spells. Our 4th level land spells are going to be Divination, gives you certain answers, you can get certain insights or visions from it. I probably wouldn't cast this too much. And then Freedom of Movement, which definitely is helpful, but it's really expensive for the spell slot. 4th level spells that we are going to choose are going to be Grasping Vine, which gives you a little guy, like a separate entity that's going to lash out and grab people, pull them close. This is going to be another way that you're activating that spike growth. You might even be able to chain Thorn Whip someone to you through the spike growth, and then your vine grabs them and lashes them back because it's a bonus action to command the vine. So now you're just yanking them back across that thorn growth. Guardian of Nature is a spell that you cast on yourself to like enhance yourself into some like new like primal force. You can choose either Primal Beast or Great Tree, and come on, we want to be a great tree. Like we want to, you're going to literally turn into a tree. You gain 10 temporary hit points, which is so-so. You make Constitution saving throws with advantage, which is great if you've got concentration on a spell. And you make Dexterity and Wisdom-based attack rolls with advantage, which is super, super helpful if you have those weapons on you. While you are on the ground around you is within 15 feet is difficult terrain for enemies. So this actually helps you to like block up a certain area, slow down enemies who are getting towards your party. It is not the most mechanically powerful spell in the world, but flavor-wise, it is incredible, and you get to be a giant tree. So I think that is a reasonable compromise. Would love that. Those are our 4th level spells. Level 8, max that Wisdom. Now your spell save is as high as it can possibly be, which is fantastic. You are also going to get 5th level spells at level 9. Here we want Commune with Nature, which is a divination spell that allows you to like connect with the natural environment, learn a bunch of things about it. If you're dropped into a new area or like get sent through a portal into some new land, this allows you to like commune with the nature and like get the lay of the land. Is an extremely powerful spell for surviving in the wilderness. I'd also recommend getting Tree Stride, allowing you to pass through trees as like a little teleportation minigame, and maybe go with like Wrath of Nature. Is this like really good, like sets up this area in which a bunch of effects are happening to like defend the natural order. So the first thing Wrath of Nature is going to do, grasses and undergrowth are going to create difficult terrain. At this point, you are the go-to build for creating and bypassing difficult terrain, especially plant-based. You're also going to get the trees to actually be making like attack rolls on people. It's going to make people make dexterity saves, so it's not really attack rolls. But it does this nice like 46 slashing damage with the branches, which is really, really actually like pretty good damage to everyone in this area all the time, which is super, super cool. It's just really like the trees come alive at your bidding. The roots and vines, one creature of your choice in that area is going to have to make a strength saving throw or be restrained by those roots or vines. Very, very cool as well to imagine the roots like ripping up from the ground. The trees are so angry they're going to try to pull someone down. And then the rocks as well. You can cause loose rocks to launch themselves at creatures in this particular area, making a ranged attack and dealing 3d8 non-magical bludgeoning damage, and also knocking them prone. In all, Wrath of Nature just creates this like ultimate, like the fury of the plants on this particular space, and I think it's an amazing capstone for this particular build. We do get 10th level. 10th level is just going to give us Nature's Ward, which says we can't be charmed or frightened by elementals or fae, and you're immune to poison and disease. To be honest, this isn't so great of a 10th level feature. If you want, you can maybe take a 1 level dip into Cleric. Clerics get their domain at first level, so you can pick up something that's more appropriate or impactful. Something like the life domain cleric to just give you like a little boost on your healing. This Disciple of Life feature pretty much doesn't scale at all except for with spell level. So taking the 1 level dip is the same as taking, like a 10 level dip in cleric as far as Disciple of Life is concerned. So you can grab that to boost up your healing instead of that lackluster 10th level of Druid. And that is the Flower Girl. Plant-based build. You go from the friend of plants, encouraging them to grow, using them strategically in combat, to a real powerhouse, dragging your enemies over this difficult and painful terrain, creating areas of wrathful trees, and communicating and communing with the natural spirits and with plants in a way that gives them gives you an incredible amount of information and allyship in the wilderness. If you like the build and you want to play it at your table, the best way to do that is by subscribing to my Patreon. For $1, you get access to character sheets for all of my builds at 1, 3, and 10th level. Thank you so much, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again next week.